Clyde sat in an old tattered lawn chair under his makeshift leaning tent, rain dripping through the fabric onto his balding head. He had a circle of townsfolk under umbrellas, dropping coins in his soggy old top hat, awaiting their turn to hear their futures. I couldn't help but envy the guy. I couldn't help but envy the guy. Here I sat with my charm and good looks, but I couldn't get 1/3 of Clyde's ever-growing crowd. Sure, I used cold readings to bleed the coins out of these sorry suckers, but didn't we all? What's Clyde got that I haven't got? I left my one customer to go take a peek. Clyde was a tall fella with a mostly bald head with a bit of stringy, straw-colored hair underneath. He had large hands, one of which he covered one eye as I looked into the beyond with the other. His hidden eye was the size of anybody's eyes, just like mine, but his seeing eye, the one he kept open, was far larger than the other, and moved about quickly and jerkily in his head as he read what was to come. I looked around at his audience and noticed most of these people were returning customers. People were following the carnival purely for Clyde's work. He collected a steady following that only grew each new town we came to. Word of mouth brought him more and more people until I couldn't compete with him. This was my one thing. Why couldn't he be a cheat I could somehow reveal and take those sweet coins for myself? I'd try now and then to throw him a curveball, trick him into screwing up and ruin him for good. But it just backfired on me. Days went by, the rain finally dried up, and the weather got hot and sweaty. One hot night after the show, I got a visit from the boss. "You're all dried up. Dead weight, you're gone by morning." This was going to be my last gig. I couldn't imagine life outside of being a carny. I just couldn't. I saw Clyde sitting up, and for the first time in a year's run, thought I'd stop by, just say hi. I waved to Clyde, and he waved back and set out another chair. He set out another chair for me. I sat down across from him and couldn't stop staring at his eye. "Dude, it's rude to stare." "Sorry," I answered. He smiled kindly and said, "Nah, it's okay. It just bothers me sometimes, I get it, but hey, you got a gift, a real blessing with that eye, don't you?" "More like a curse." "What do you mean?" "It aches my head. I feel like I can't stop seeing. When I take a good long look, I can't turn it off." "Well, don't. Just don't try to turn it off." "It's hard to rest, though. It's hard just living life seeing so much. I saw my own mother's death before it happened. Couldn't do anything about it because she was scared to miss work for anything. She had 6 mouths to feed after all. Listen to me going on, you probably had something on your mind." I noticed as I spoke, he looked down at his shoes, or at the sky. He wouldn't look right at me for long. "Clyde," I said, "why don't you look at me?" "Well, we work with each other, so it's not a good idea." "I'm giving you permission to read me." "No, I don't want to." "Why?" "There's something... forget it. It's just not a good idea, okay, friend? Besides, I'm pretty tired, and I just want a nap before the show this evening. What I can get of one, anyway." His refusal to read me angered me, and I dropped the pretense. "Clyde, I said read me." He looked up and slowly covered his smaller eye, and the large orb looked deep inside my mind and darted quickly back and forth. Clyde fell backward in his chair, scrambling to his feet as fast as he could. What did you see, Clyde? What did you see? Tell me, what did you see? Clyde tried to force a smile and told me, I'm very tired, if you'll excuse me, and climbed into the back of his van, closing the door. I continued to yell through his windows, What did you see, Clyde? Until the boss heard me and ran over to me and pushing me away. I told you you're out of here by morning. Leave him alone. That night, Clyde was more solemn than usual. He rubbed at his big eye until it was sore and red. But he still read enough futures to earn him buckets of coin. I earned a nickel and an angry scowl from a bad read. I was seething inside with jealousy. I watched Clyde pack up his things and gather loose change. I'd never seen so many silver dollars in my life. While I was watching him, he turned and looked at me. He walked over to me and handed me a sack of silver dollars. That should get the boss off your back for a bit, he said, as he wandered back over to his van. He'd been crying, and his whole body was wrought with tension. I found myself angrier than before. Did he think I needed his help? His help? I wanted his gift, not his charity. I waited until he tossed and turned himself to sleep, until the whole carnival was fast asleep. I crept over to his van and slowly tried the door. It was left unlocked for once. I held behind my back a large, rather rusty blade. I carefully moved the blanket from Clyde's face. I was startled to see, while one eye slept, his reading eye was still very much awake and scanning me up and down. I had to act quickly. I brought the blade down right under his eye and heard the blood pour from his head with a hefty push. His feet twitched and he lay still. I carefully scooped the reading eye out with my blade and laughed to myself. You'll read no more, friend. In my oh so quiet laughter, I let the big eye hit the ground with a splat and began to walk back to my truck. I have to leave, of course, immediately. I find somewhere new, some new group to join up with, somewhere without a Clyde. And I be the one making all the coin now. Somebody with his gift doesn't come along every day. Getting back to my ever so clever cold reads on affairs and big promotions. I got in my truck and started the engine when I remembered all that coin Clyde wouldn't need. He wouldn't need it now. No use it going to waste, so I got back out and walked back to his van. He still lay there, motionless, dead as ever, just like I left him. I started gathering his pouches of coin when I heard something move. I checked him again. Yep, still was aboard. I continued, and again I heard something crawling just near my shoe. It's nothing, I thought, just jitters, and kept gathering my prize. Then I felt the crawling thing moving up my leg. I wildly brushed at my pants leg until I felt it slide out near my feet. I moved backwards toward my truck and got out my flashlight. I let the bright light fall on the ground where the thing slipped out. There. No, there. It was moving away from the light. I turned it off and waited, my breath heaving in nervous anticipation. I waited until the thing got close again. When I heard it slither close, I quickly shone the flashlight down on it, and I was knocked down on my back at the sight of Clyde's reading eye. No, I repeated helplessly. The eye began to turn and look at me curiously, like a slimy puppy. It looked up towards Clyde's lifeless body, and back at me. I couldn't process what I beheld. The eye, slimy and red, shook off the bits of dirt and grass and blood. Without a body, it rolled towards me, and I couldn't look away. The eye rolled onto my chest and shook wildly until from its slimy surface a clawed tentacle protruded. Then another and another, until the eye had 6 slimy clawed appendages with which to better move itself closer and closer to me. It crawled onto my screaming face and dug out one of my own eyes until it was a gooey mush on my face. If the sleeping carnies heard my screams, they chose to ignore them. The eye kept digging until it had a new hole to live in, and it crawled into the bleeding, swollen cavity. It's been 10 years now. I have the gift of reading, and the coins never stop. But I wish my head didn't ache so, and that I couldn't see the future so clearly with Clyde's big eye.